So tonight's second movie was written and directed by Audrey Wells. This is 1999's Guinevere. Audrey Wells is one of my favorite directors solely based on her only other film, which is the 2003 gem Under the Tuscan Sun, aka one of my all-time favorite movies and a movie that I rewatch multiple times a year. It's a big hug of a movie and I love it dearly. She has also written many other films like The Truth About Cats and Dogs, The Kid, I believe last year, A Dog's Purpose, among other films. But I had been meaning to check this one out since I did A Year with Women, and I read that this existed, and I was like, wait, she's directed another movie because I'd only ever known about Under the Tuscan Sun. But I didn't really track it down until finally this year. I'm sort of all these movies that I've been, like, oh, I can't find them. This is actually on Amazon Prime. I did not watch it on Amazon Prime, though you can rent it there. I rented it from Videodrome because I'm trying to rent all these movies that have been on lists for a while from Videodrome. I like to support my local video rental store. So this movie is kind of controversial-esque. If you look at the Rotten Tomatoes, the critics really like it and the audiences don't like it. She won a Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award at the Sundance Film Festival for this film and was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, as was Jean Smart in her supporting role. It follows Sarah Polley as a girl named Harper Stone, who's just graduated from college. She's attending her older sister's wedding and clearly not having a good time. You find out in this opening sequence that she's just been accepted to Harvard Law School, but she's clearly not very thrilled about it. Her family has a very strange dynamic and she is unhappy. She grits some champagne and runs off to be on her own, at which point she runs into the wedding photographer played by Stephen Ray. He is much older. She's 20, going on 21. He's in his 50s. However, he's Stephen Ray, and he's charming, and he makes her feel a little less alone, and they flirt a little bit, and the next thing you know, she's going to pick up his prints from her, the wedding prints from him, and as you can see where it's going, it goes into a full-blown May-December romance with her moving in to his loft and her not going to Harvard and all these things. The film then follows him sort of their relationship, but mostly like their sexual relationship, but mostly their sort of tutelage relationship, in that he very much needs to guide young women, to mold them, to help them become artists. This is what he does. You find out, well, you the viewer know this is what he does early on when she goes to pick up the prints and Sandra Oh's there, like, violently breaking up with him. And Sandra Oh's in the beginning and the end of this film, and she's so good. She is so good. But you know that the Sarah Polley character, Harper, is very naive, and she doesn't know what she's getting into, and the rest of us are watching it going like, oh my God. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion as she goes through the motions in this relationship. And the title comes from the fact that he calls literally all of the women that he has this strange relationship with Guinevere. And I don't really want to spoil the end of the movie, so you'll get to it. I'm not sure if this film would work with anyone other than Stephen Ray, and I don't know that it would work for everybody. I just happen to have a big crush on Stephen Ray and always have. I find him insanely attractive, and I don't know why, because he's not really conventionally attractive, but he's very charming, and he photographs well, and the charm comes across, and every movie I've seen him in, I find him very charming. So he's got a great accent. I don't know. I saw her falling into this really bad relationship, and I was like, I'd do the same. I understood how she got there. So from that perspective, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see how this would happen. I don't know what the film was exactly trying to say about this, because it definitely presents her as naive and it definitely presents him as somewhat predatory, and it definitely presents him as somewhat pathetic. Yet it also shows him as a person who's truly committed to artistry and to bringing out artistry in people. Specifically, though, it's the fact that he wants to bring artistry out of, 20-year-old girls that is a little icky. And it's ickier now, I think, than it was in 1999. And so, I mean, it was always icky, but I think it's easier to talk about how icky it is in today's atmosphere than it would be 20 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know if she was trying to say that this just happens, or if she was trying to say that like it was beneficial for both of them. I'm not really sure. Like, could she have become an artist without getting involved in a very strange relationship with a man who was older than her parents? I don't know. I feel like there's one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, well, there's a moment in it, and this is why I think Jean Smart got an Independent Spirit nomination. She really cuts him down to size at one point when she finds out about this relationship, and she comes in and she's like, what do you see in young girls? And then she realizes what it is, and she's like, they see awe in you, and no grown woman would see that. So I think that's supposed to make you feel as the viewer that the Jean Smart character, the mother, as messed up as that family is, has the most clarity in the situation. But I'm not sure. And then it has a very strange ending, which I don't know how to parse out yet, but I'm going to think on it for a bit. So, comparison to her other film, Under the Tuscan Sun, a very different story, a very different atmosphere, very different tone. So, I don't know if she has sort of an overarching, point of view as a filmmaker. But I still love Under the Tuscan Sun. And I think I liked this movie. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to think on it. But Sarah Polley is very good. I like her much better as an actress than I do as a filmmaker. If you remember, I do not like any of her films that she's directed. Whoops. But I think she is a tremendous actress. She has such range and broadcasts such wide emotions through slight movements and glances. And Stephen Ray, like I said, I find him insanely attractive. So, I would. Also, this is filmed in San Francisco and partly Los Angeles, and I always love getting to see bits of San Francisco. There were city lights and other things, and it definitely feels like a cross section of 90s San Francisco. So it's definitely got that timepiece going on. I also wanted to say one last thing. Apparently, Paul Dooley, the actor, was in both of the movies I rented from Videodrome this week. He was the father in Clockwatchers, and he was one of Stephen Ray's patrons, kind of, in Guinevere. So way to go, Paul Dooley. Thanks for showing up and making my week better. Also, apparently he shares a birthday with my brother. So, this was Audrey Wells' Guinevere from 1999. You can rent it here in Atlanta at Videodrome, or you can rent it for a couple of bucks on Amazon Video. It's definitely not for everyone, and definitely a movie that's going to make you think about May-December romances very differently, power dynamics very differently, and the fact that it came out from Miramax, and so the Weinsteins were involved, will also kind of make it a strange piece of cinema. But really, I always appreciate films that I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel like those sorts of films really ask hard questions, and I am much like many a film goer. I don't always want to answer hard questions, and so movies that make me go, I don't know how to feel. I like that I don't know how to feel. I'm gonna have to think for a while on this one, so it's gonna worm its way into my brain. So anyways, 1999's Guinevere. Seek it out. I thought it was quite good.